friends, and welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the gap, the dreaded gap of where you are and where you want to be, where you know you could be. That is a place that none of us like being in. And I think that it is very common on a journey of becoming more of your complete self to find yourself in the gap. And I'm going to give some tools for managing the gap, some things that'll kind of get you out of the gap or help you with the gap. But I also think it is important to know that the gap is sometimes just part of the process, and be okay with the gap, basically. Just understand that every now and again you're going to find yourself there between where you are and where you want to be. And when you think about it, when you're constantly blossoming and moving forward and going to new levels and going to new heights, there's just always going to be the potential there for you to have a gap. You achieve a goal, you're there, you're loving it, you're feeling good, you're proud, but now you want to expand. You want more. You want to see if you can push the bar a little bit further. So the gap is just there, and we just kind of want to get more comfortable with understanding that sometimes we're just going to have a gap. So now, having said that, let's talk about ways that you can close the gap. And I may be jumping ahead a little bit for people that are new to the journey, new to the process, but I think the information will still be beneficial. And at some point, if you follow this podcast, you're going to hear information that is for you if you've been on the journey for a while, but you also may find some information there for people that are new on the journey. And if you've been walking it for a little while, allow that information for that particular person to just be a reminder for you. All right, how do we close this gap? One thing that I'm going to recommend is the visualization process. And if you're not familiar with visualization, you want to get familiar with visualization. A lot of people throw that term around. It's kind of out there, visualize. But I don't know if people understand the reason why you visualize, the process behind visualization, and why it is important. So I'm going to try to flesh that out a little bit. So visualization is simply holding the vision of what you want in your mind. And that makes sense. You can't complete a goal if you don't really know what the goal is. So you have to kind of spend some time figuring out what it is that you really want. And sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do because clarity is important. But if you're like me, I have sometimes struggled with clarity. Maybe the goal was too broad and I just had too many parts and pieces. And so when I tried to nail down the vision of it, this confusion would come in and I just couldn't really get it. That can happen with this process. So you definitely want to be clear. You definitely want to be consistent with holding the vision. And you want to be deliberate. So it's one thing to have a vision, but it's another level to have the clarity with the vision, to have the consistency with holding the vision and being deliberate about the vision and holding that as almost a sacred thing. And here's a little trick that when I hear people talking about visualization, they seem to leave out this particular piece of it, and this particular piece is so important. You want to hold the vision in your mind so clearly that it becomes real to you. And the reason why you want to do that is kind of twofold. One, it's going to raise your vibration. And if you're not familiar with law of attraction, it's based on the premise that everything in the universe is energy and that like attracts like. And that if you can raise your vibration and maintain your vibration in a high enough state, that energy is going to reach out almost as if there's tentacles there, and it's going to touch and attract things that are like it. So that means, if you work it well, is going to reach out and start bringing to you ideas that are on the same wavelength, people that are on the same wavelength that can help you complete your vision. Resources could be money. If you can maintain that high level of vibration, it becomes a creative force in and of itself. And so the work then becomes easier. So simply focusing on that vision and feeling the feeling of that vision is going to move you closer to the next level, which is what we're after. We're trying to close that gap. So as you do that on a consistent basis, and you're feeling so good about what the future holds, what lies ahead, it's going to raise your vibration. And then secondly, imagery is one of the things that shapes the subconscious mind. So when you give your subconscious mind an image, a vision, it's more likely gonna move and guide you and give you concepts and ideas that are going to help you work out the vision that you've given it. If you haven't given it a vision, it has nothing really to work on. And so the mind likes to work, and it's better to occupy it with something positive, because if you don't, I guarantee you that something negative will come into play. Fear about failure. All kinds of little silly things will come into play if you're not careful. So give your subconscious mind good work to do, and visualization definitely fits that bill. And when I think of visualization, now my background is Christian, even though I am very eclectic in my approach to spirituality, it is really just an example of faith that all religions talk about. As you consistently and intentionally, deliberately apply this vision and imprint this on your mind every day, it's going to activate your faith. Over time, you're just going to start to believe it. You're just going to start to feel and know that what you can have is possible. Trust me on this. Just commit yourself to it and see, doesn't it start to work for you? You will be amazed. And here's a little secret. Not only do you have to visualize it so clearly as if it's actually happening, you also want to tie emotion to it. So there's a field called quantum physics, and we're starting to see a little bit of the melding together of science and spirituality. And there are some scientists out there that are talking about the quantum field. And basically, the quantum field, according to scientists, is a place where all possibilities exist. And they're also starting to say that the quantum field can be changed and moved simply by observation. So when you think about visualization, that is a form of observation. So that's why I think it works. And if you want more information or to go deeper into that, again, I try to keep this particular podcast at more of a high level, because we have people from all backgrounds coming and listening to this podcast. Some people are going to be new on the journey. Some people are going to be more advanced on the journey. So I try to give the information in a way that it is beneficial to people no matter where they are on the path. So if you want more information, there are other scientists out there, but Gregg Braden specifically comes to mind, and I've read a couple of his books. There's another guy that comes to mind that escapes me right now, but I will put that in the comments, and I've read some of his work as well. So, visualization is a form of faith. It's a form of observation. It can work on this quantum field. And not only that, it's going to put you in a feel-good mode. And if you're in a feel-good mode, your vibration raises. And as your vibration raises, good things are just going to come to you. And so that's an oversimplified version. But hey, some people need to know the details and some people don't. All I can tell you is that if you visualize consistently, and if you do it so clearly that it becomes real to you, and if you are intentional and deliberate about it, and if you hold it as something that is sacred to you and becomes a practice for you, you will see results. Write it down in your journal, and that just solidifies it and adds another layer to it. And at that point, not only have you raised your vibration, but you've given a clear vision to your subconscious mind so it knows what you want. Oh, and I forgot to add, the emotion does that as well. Law of attraction works on vibration. So when you tie that emotion to that imagery, your vibration raises, law of attraction gets to work on it. So there's that first piece of working on closing the gap if you're not doing that already. The second thing that I would recommend when you find yourself in a little bit of hell, to be honest with you, maybe that's a little bit strong, but we don't like being there, is to examine your life and ask yourself the question, are you really ready for it? Mind, body, and spirit. Are you committed to that next level? Sometimes it's not coming to us simply because we're not prepared. We're not ready. And if it were to come, it would shut us down. If you have a business and you keep thinking, I want to get there, I want to get there, I want to get there. But if you don't have that infrastructure in place, when all that business floods in, it's going to shut you down. You're probably going to lose customers over it. So sometimes it's not coming simply because your inner being knows that you're just not ready. And so this is where that examination comes from, and looking at your life and looking at your business practices or your career, whatever the thing is that you're trying to change, or even your relationship. Maybe you're trying to become a better partner or a better parent, and you could be in the gap. Look at your life and ask yourself, am I ready for it? Am I ready to move to this next level with all of this? Sometimes you think you're ready to move to another level in your relationship, but you have difficulty saying that you're sorry. These kinds of things keep us from moving. So examine it. And here's a little exercise that I used to give to people, and I think it's very, very valuable. When you think about that next level, ask yourself the question, who is that person? And really give that some conscious thought. And once you determine who that person is, ask yourself, what 4 qualities do I need to become that person? And write that out and start spending some time thinking about that. If you want to be and I keep using entrepreneurship as an example, but it doesn't have to be that. Let's say you want to get promoted on your job, but you know it's going to require more time away from your family. Is that what you want? And if the answer to that question is yes, who would you have to be in order to manage that? Would you have to be a person that is more organized? Would you have to be a person that devotes more quality time to your family because you won't have more of it, instead of just maybe leaving them in front of the television? You know, just really starting to get your mind wrapped around what are the 4 qualities that person has that I'm going to have to become in order for me to thrive at that level? Is organization the thing that you're lacking? Is discipline the thing that you're lacking? Is temperance the thing that you're lacking? Maybe you want to be a manager, but you have been known to have an outburst or two in a meeting, and that may be keeping you from the next level. Is it a situation where you really need to sit down and start digging into that and kind of figuring out where the anger is coming from and how to manage that? Write it out. Get clear about it. What are the 4 qualities that you need to get to that next level? Think about a person that is there. What do they need that you don't have? And the last key I'm going to give is patience. As I said at the start of the podcast, just understand that this is part of the process. And being able to be okay with where you are now, with the anticipation for what is to come. That is the best trick for managing the gap. When you're frustrated, when you're angry about it, when you're impatient about it, you are sending out, again, law of attraction, a very negative vibration. And again, it works on like attracts like, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. So if you're constantly frustrated or complaining, you're going to continue to attract things that frustrate you and things to complain about. So try as best as you can to just understand that life really is an unfolding. And what this really is about is not about you getting to the next level. It's about who you're becoming in the process, how you're changing, how you're growing. And so the gap serves that purpose. It is a mechanism through which we all grow. And so try to just settle down and ease up a little bit on yourself. Extend a little grace to your life and to what's happening to you, and just learn to be okay with being in that space and understanding that this really is what life is. This really is what the journey is about where you are and who you're becoming and who you are in that process. If you're going to complain and kick rocks about it, you're not going to have a very good time, and you're probably even going to thwart your potential growth. Whereas if you could just take a deep breath and relax and say, you know what, this is where I am right now, and I'm excited about where I will eventually get to. If you can try to maintain that particular perspective, you're going to have a better chance of closing that gap and moving to the next level, and then coming to the gap again, and then closing it, and then moving to the next level, and on and on and on. And the final piece to that particular remedy for managing the gap is gratitude. And I know you've heard this before. Oprah's talked about the importance of gratitude. Gratitude really does help with that. And gratitude actually also activates the law of attraction, because when you are grateful, I can sit sometimes in a meditation and just think about all the things in my life that I am grateful for and that are positive, and I can almost be moved to tears about it. To the extent that you can do that, a couple of things happen. Again, your vibration raises because you are just in that good feeling place of, my life is so good. My life is so great. I'm reminded of that every single time that I intentionally practice gratitude. Some people write it out. I used to. I don't so much anymore. But I think that that is a wonderful process. I tend to do it as part of my meditation time. But that journaling process is very, very powerful when it comes to implanting seeds in your subconscious mind. And so the other way that it works is that when you act as if, it's almost as though you trick the subconscious mind into believing that you already have it. And again, it goes back to what I was saying in the visualization piece, that when you give your subconscious mind things, instead of allowing it to just run amok, because it will, when you're intentional about it, when you give it something to work on, it's going to serve you much better. It's going to say, hey, she wants more money. Let's think about how we can get more money to her, as opposed to that space being filled with all kinds of negative things about the money's never going to come or I'm never going to have it. When you act as if, you send a powerful message to every part of your being that this is who you are, and it will step up and support you on the journey into becoming that. We are beings of growth and expansion, and just know that you are supported on your journey, and that if that is the reason for all of it, there's no reason why we should be blocked from achieving the things that we want. We just haven't had the information and we haven't had the tools. So I hope you find this talk beneficial. Commit to that visualization. That is so important. Don't forget to examine your life and name 4 things, 4 qualities that you need to help you thrive at that next level. What's missing in your life if you want to move forward, or have that relationship, or find that new partner, or get that great job, or get more money in your business? When you think about that person, what 4 qualities do they have, or more? It can be more than 4. I always said 4, but if there's 10, write down all 10 and commit to incorporating those qualities into your life. And then lastly, don't forget, this is what it is. As frustrating as it sometimes can be, this is the journey of life. Expansion, you get to a point and then you stop. Expansion, and then you get to a point and then you stop. Expansion, and then you get to a point and then you stop. And so there will always be that gap. So make peace with it. Be grateful for all the good things that are happening in your life. Practice that daily and watch different things show up for you, and watch your life blossom in many different ways. Love you guys. Bye-bye.